It's time for the best coverage of the top stories in sports. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page starts now.
Yes, it does, and great to have you with us on this Monday. Thank you, Chad Erickson. Lots to do over the next 60 minutes. We'll be joined by our friend Bill Bender in his usual Monday college football spot. Sporting news. There's a lot to talk about from college football. How you feeling in Georgia? Not too good in Athens. Anyway, we'll get into that. We'll also be joined. Jason Cole makes his triumphant return to the show. Our friend, NFL author, Hall of Fame selector. We'll get some thoughts with him, some perspective on the Chiefs, who remain undefeated, as we say hello for the first time today to Sam Yarnell. Hello, Sam. Wow. The Chiefs remain undefeated, and boy, did they do it in dramatic fashion on Sunday, beating the Broncos on a blocked field goal, a walk-off blocked field goal. And by the way, could there be anybody better to call that than Kevin Harlan? I mean, really, if you want a big moment in a big game, isn't it Kevin Harlan that you want? And that's exactly what you got yesterday. But the Chiefs, look, here's the reality, and a lot of people have said this. I think I have an idea of what Sam is going to say, but I won't totally prejudge it. It's all three facets of the game. It's not just defense. It's not just offense. It's definitely not just offense. It's special teams, and they made the big play when it mattered most yesterday to remain undefeated at 9-0. And maybe we just have to accept, Sam, that this is what it's going to be. They're going to be the cardiac kids every week for the most part, and these are the kinds of games they're going to play, and they got a damn good chance to win them all because there's just no panic in this team.
Yeah, definitely, Jason. I mean, it's ridiculous the way that this team wins games at this point. And the stupidest thing about it all to me is if you Dan Orlovsky did a great breakdown of this, but if you go back and watch the film of the Broncos special teams, the Chiefs knew they were going to block that field goal. They had a play designed to block that field goal. They had been going after the same blocker in that field goal line for the Broncos all day, and they had already gotten to him almost once. So they knew they were going to block that field goal. You knew they were going to block that field goal. Everyone knew they were going to block that field goal. That's why kicking the field goal, I believe the live line on the game before the field goal, the Chiefs were only plus 240. They're down going into the last play of the game, and they're only plus 240 to win it. It's ridiculous. It made no sense. It never made any sense. These Chiefs don't make any sense. Listen, at the end of the day, they will run into a buzzsaw eventually, and that's how their season will end. But right now, they're just going to keep beating everyone in the stupidest ways possible. Like, that's exactly what this Chiefs team is built to do. They are built to win stupid games in stupid ways that they don't deserve to win, but they do end up winning.
It was a nice ramp up to it, Sam, this week. It was a very nice ramp up.
Listen, if you're going to look me in the face and tell me that the Chiefs deserve to win that game yesterday, it's just not correct. They didn't. They made big plays.
Made the big play when it mattered. And that's the mark, that's the calling card of a great football team. Look, I'm not saying that, you know, they're gonna run undefeated through the whole season. But I think we do ourselves a disservice. I said this 3 or 4 weeks ago. There are no bad wins. There are no bad wins. And you're basically going against that and saying, well, no, there are bad wins. There's no bad wins in this league. You find and I said this last week as well, and I think it bears repeating. They are an in the moment, in that exact play kind of team. It's always about the next play. It's not about what you did before. It's about what you do next. And with this team, that mentality, combined with that group of players, that head coach, that defensive coordinator, who I think we all have to give credit to yet again, because yesterday they thought about allowing the touchdown. They thought about allowing the touchdown and letting Denver score and then giving Patrick Mahomes the ball back and seeing what he could do. And Steve Spagnuolo said, no. We're not giving them a touchdowns. We're not letting them walk in the end zone. I think we do ourselves a disservice if we keep poo-pooing the fact that they find ways to win. Because in the postseason, what is it all about, Sam? It's about finding ways to win games. And they have proven time and time again they can find ways to win games almost a year without losing one.
You're right. However, their struggles against bad teams are
Denver's
what
not a bad
me.
team. We have to stop this. Denver's a good football team. I know they got their doors blown off in Baltimore. Everybody gets a bad game here and there. Denver is not a bad football team. That team is on the come right now.
They are nowhere near the pedigree of the Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs should be losing games winning games like they won yesterday against the Ravens, the Bills, the Lions, the Packers, the creme de la creme
they win them all,
in the
though.
NFL.
At the end of the day, they win them all, Sam. I don't care how you do it. Just find ways to win. This isn't Minnesota. This isn't Minnesota 2 years ago, which was fool's gold, and we all kind of knew it was fool's gold, and then they got their doors blown off by the Giants in the playoffs, which seems like 100 years ago if you're a Giants fan. But to me, they're not that. They're not that sort of fool's gold.
The Giants weren't a buzzsaw. My point is this. Every year in the NFL, this comes up. There is a team that becomes a buzzsaw. Normally, unfortunately, it happens to be the Kansas City Chiefs. They're showing you right in front of our very eyes that they don't have the capability of becoming that this year. So they're going to run into that eventually, one would hope, unless they have maybe the easiest path to the Super Bowl in history.
It's not.
We
know
won't
that.
have to.
We know that it's not going to be an easy path. We know at this point it's not.
Well, we know it's not.
The AFC is tough.
Could beat the
Ravens. The AFC
is
is tough. Now, anybody, and look, I think we have to start reconsidering what the Steelers are if we're starting to talk about. Last week I said they were a pretender. We got to start talking about that.
People said that the Patriots would have no easy path to the Super Bowl the year they played Blake Bortles and the Jaguars in the AFC Championship game. No matter how much we're forecasting, even 9 weeks removed from the playoffs, the AFC could turn on its head, right? And even if it doesn't, there could be an upset team that runs through the whole conference. It's happened before. It could definitely happen again. Again, my point at the end of all of this is, barring that happening, there will be a team that gets hot enough to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. It will happen eventually. This is not a team that is going for a perfect season. They don't have the same things that the prior perfect teams, even the teams that went to the Super Bowl perfect, had.
Well, you're betting on something that you'd be probably putting a lot of juice out there. You'd have to be paying a lot of juice. So you're not exactly making the boldest pick in the world here, Sam. Saying somebody's going to beat them. Yeah, they may not go undefeated. I mean, it's hard to do. By the way, if the playoffs started today in the AFC, Denver would play Buffalo. Chargers would play the Steelers. Ravens would play the Texans. Just wanted to put that out there. All right, Jason Cole's going to join us on the other side. Big winner of the day yesterday, by the way, the Giants. They'd have the second pick in the draft right now. We're coming back. All right, let's take it to segment 2 on this Monday edition of the show. Time to welcome back an oldie but a goodie. I mean that in the most complimentary way, Jason Cole.
Oh, I'm old.
He's a Hall of Fame selector, author, NFL writer, and I always love getting his thoughts on what's going on around the NFL. So we talked about it in the opening segment, Sam and I. He's taking the sort of negative stance on the Chiefs. Oh, they're finding ways to win. They're going to run into a buzzsaw eventually. Somebody's going to beat them. They're not going to win a Super Bowl. I look at it the other way. I just think this team is so battle tested and they're sort of that in the moment team. It's about the next play. It's about trusting the guy next to you. I still see all the makings there of a team that I still think wins the Super Bowl when all is said and done.
I hope you're right. I mean, three straight Super Bowls.
Give you another book to write.
Hell yeah, couple of books probably. No, I think they do know how to win. I think that they obviously have to improve what they're doing on offense, and they have to take control of games. But their defense is the best it's been, and I thought last year's defense was great, and this year it's even better. They've made a great transition, personnel-wise, in just a 2-year period of time on the defensive side. But yeah, they got to get better play from the offense. But it's Patrick Mahomes. If you're betting on any human being to be better as the season progresses, and I think his mental makeup is such that he needs that kind of challenge of the playoff atmosphere because he's been there and done that on everything else, right? He needs that focus. I do expect they're going to lose 2 or 3 games, and we're going to have this, sort of hand wringing about whether they're any good or not, just like we are now. And it'll be even more heated because there'll be a couple of losses in there, and they should, by all rights, they should have lost yesterday, and got outplayed at home. All those things, but who are you picking in the postseason? And if you're not picking Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, you're just fooling yourself. If as long as they're healthy, that's the team to beat in this whole thing, and it just has to kind of play itself out before we get there. Baltimore is really, really interesting. It's just like their pass defense is so woeful right now that I'm not sure they're going to be able to cover for it in a critical game.
Has Baltimore just taken the approach that we're just going to outscore everybody? That this is what we are, and sort of, I don't want to say embraced it, but they've sort of, this is who we are, knowing who they are.
Well, no, I don't think they haven't gone run and gun, 4 wides, like we're just going to throw it every down. What they have created is this perfect complement between, okay, we have this great running attack that allows us to pass more effectively. And if you want to try and take away Derrick Henry, go ahead. We'll rip you to shreds throwing the ball, right? So they can oscillate between whatever style they want to play in a given game. So they're great that way. And that allows them to be such an effective scoring team, and has created an atmosphere where Lamar Jackson, coming off an MVP season, is having probably his greatest statistical season, certainly as a thrower, his greatest statistical season of his career. And this is a career that already has 2 MVPs. So they're perfect that way. What they're not perfect at is their pass defense has regressed. And I think a lot of it is Kyle Hamilton has not been as good this year. And probably even more important, the pass rush is just not getting home on a regular basis. If they can find a way to get the pass rush to get home, they're getting a lot closer to what they were last year on defense.
If we operate under the assumption that Kansas City is the best team in football, which again there's debate, despite the fact that they're undefeated, are the Lions the second best team in the NFL right now to you?
No, to me, it's Baltimore is the second best team in the NFL, and I don't even think that's that close. And I think San Francisco. I think San Francisco is still in very important statistical ways. San Francisco is right up there in the top 4 or 5, but Detroit has done it. All right. And so Detroit would be 2 or 3. If you want to put them 2, fine. If you want to put them 3, fine. I would put them probably third right now. I think that where they're not, I think their defense is kind of on the edge of, okay, it can still be really good at times, and Aaron Glenn's done an amazing job, but the lack of a guy who can close like Hutchinson did is going to show up over time. Like they've managed to cover for it for a couple of games, but eventually. Now, Zadarius Smith comes back, we'll see, but I don't think he's, they picked him up. I don't think he's a great closer. He's certainly not Hutchinson, but he may be able to fill some of the gap and give him some depth to cover it up as best as possible. But there were some things that got exposed last night with Detroit that bothered me. They overcame them, but they bother me.
But the big thing for them is the road to the Super Bowl out of the NFC is going to go through Detroit, and we know how good they are at home.
Oh, absolutely. Look, they have it set up. This is the season that they got to take advantage of it, right? Yeah. Which is why I would have, if I was them, I would have said 2 first-round picks. Does that get me Max Crosby, or does that get me Myles Garrett? I would have done that if I was Brad Holmes. I would have pushed in and said, look, I don't care about my next 2 first-round picks, because they're going to be in the 20s, and hopefully the late 20s, maybe even the 30s, if I pull this off correctly. And I would have gotten the game-changing guy who would have solidified everything with my defense. Because right now, I think if they get a couple more guys banged up, and they started to get some guys banged up last night, if they get a couple more of those guys banged up, they're not as good at the back end as they have been so far, and it becomes a lot harder for them.
I only got a minute here, but I got the helmet above me that I got from our friends at Light Helmets with the Giants, and I'm a Giants fan.
I'm sorry.
Well, but you know what? They had the best day of anybody yesterday because they went from the 10th pick in the draft to the second pick in the draft, and that could conceivably be Shedeur Sanders if Jacksonville has the top overall pick because they're not drafting Shedeur Sanders.
Maybe. I just, there are things about Shedeur Sanders where I wonder, is he in it for him or is he in it, is he in it for him or is he in it to play and win? He's not his dad. His dad proved that he could be in it for himself and be a great team guy. When you're throwing your offensive lineman under the bus, which he has done at times, that doesn't play very well for a quarterback. It's different when you're a cornerback and you're doing the whole pomp and circumstance. It's different when you're a quarterback. So we'll see. He's certainly talented, no question.
Jason Cole, author, writer, insider, Hall of Fame selector. Thank you, my friend.
Good time.
All right, let's take it to segment 3 on this Monday edition of Sports Wrap. And if it is a Monday and it's football season, Bill Bender is here. Does a great job on college football, all things football, in fact, at the Sporting News. Well, where was I? I was at a bowling alley on Saturday watching Georgia and Ole Miss. And I have to take some flack because last week on the show, not with you, but with Sam, I said, there's no way Ole Miss is winning this game. There's just no way. It's not going to happen. This is Lane Kiffin. They can't win the big one. And then they go and knock off Georgia in pretty convincing fashion, Bill.
Yeah, and there left no doubt. Georgia's same issues. Turning the ball over, not generating a running game, allowing Ole Miss to control the tempo, and Jackson Dart played well enough to win a big game. So, yeah, it is jarring, especially when the thought exercise in my head afterward was, okay, is Georgia out of the playoff? Will they actually do that on Tuesday night? And what has Georgia done other than beat Texas, which is a big beat Texas, and a half of football against Alabama to suggest to you that this is a playoff team other than have that G on their helmet?
And Bill, to you, they're not. You said in your latest projection that they're not going to make the playoff. So I guess the question then for me kind of shifts to Georgia on the whole. As a program, obviously, in this new era of college football and the 12-team playoff, what does the kind of emotion, not only in the fan base, but within the program, change to in terms of the goal year in, year out? Does it now become instead of win the national championship every year, it's we got to make the playoff every year? What do you think it is for that Georgia team?
Well, I think they need to address the team. You hear that buzzword culture all the time, but when you have as many player arrests as they've had, you wonder if that starts to tear at the fabric of a program like it did with Urban Meyer in Florida. That eventually wore on the program. So that's part of it. The other part is there are times, though, like don't ask me to predict Georgia, Tennessee this weekend because Georgia could just as easily come out of that locker room, beat them 38-10, and we're putting them right back in the 8th seed. So it's the inconsistency that gets me. And here's another prediction for you guys. The SEC propaganda machine is coming. Because they're going to want these 2-loss teams to get in over a 1-loss Indiana if Indiana loses, or Notre Dame. It's coming. You thought the election was over. It's going to be 3 weeks of this in SEC country.
But let me hold on a second. I'm going to go to bat. I am the last person that ever wants to go to bat for the SEC. They got 9 teams in the top 25, Bill. It's not the same. What that conference is not the same as these other conferences that might have 2, 3, even 4 teams in the top 25. Instead of, Sam's question, which is, I think, relevant to what I'm about to ask about, resetting the expectations for what we should expect out of Georgia in this new sort of consolidation of college football conferences, maybe just in general, talking about the SEC, we have to recalibrate what is a 2-loss team, that they're not all built the same because of the level of competition they're facing.
Yeah, and again, what means more? I know they use that. I didn't even do that on purpose. So when you have Notre Dame and Ohio State, or Notre Dame and Indiana 6 and 7, well, then 8, 9, 10, you're looking at Alabama, Ole Miss, Georgia. Do you think there is one human being that lives in Athens, Georgia, that thinks the Indiana Hoosiers would beat Georgia? I don't think there's one. And who would we all pick if they played? We would all pick Georgia. So
I mean, even Colorado, who we'll get to later. I mean, Colorado right now could be a team that makes the playoff. If they played Georgia, does anybody think Colorado's beating Georgia?
Right, and that's where we're getting into, did they earn their way in, or are they just getting in by right of their conference? I think Tennessee's a really solid football team because they're winning a little bit different than we're used to, but the defense is solid. They win with running the football around a young quarterback who can throw a couple deep balls. You know who else does that? The Pittsburgh Steelers in the NFL. So, I mean, it's not like that formula can't work in college football either. So I do think the conference is loaded. I do think they are on our TV set every week. You said you were watching Georgia, Ole Miss. We're all going to watch. We all watched Alabama, LSU, and we'll all watch Tennessee, Georgia this week. They seemingly have the main event almost every single week in that primetime window.
Bill, I asked you about it last week, Carson Beck's draft stock, and then he came out and had another terrible performance this week. NFL Draft Buzz still has him rated as the 4th best quarterback prospect in this draft. Is that kind of where you see him? Is Carson Beck still a first-round pick?
We'll see. He strikes me as day 2 right now, but I don't know that how many guys are first-round picks right now. I think Shador is, and I'll die on that hill.
Cam Ward.
I like what
Cam Ward.
Cam Ward is, because he's the only one that's a game changer of the bunch. I mean, Dylan Gabriel, probably a day 2 guy. Will Howard, maybe somebody talks themselves into him in round 1 because you know how that works at the NFL draft because of the value of the position. Some guys get talked themselves into quarterbacks who aren't first-round picks. So I don't know that Carson Beck is. I think Quinn Ewers probably will be, but for Carson Beck, the problem is the turnovers, and they've become an epidemic. Georgia has turned the ball over 3 times in 3 straight games, and it's had 3 varying results. You know, they were able to beat Texas with turnovers. They messed around with Florida, and it bit them this week. When you turn the ball over as much as they do, it's going to catch up with you at some point, and it did against Ole Miss on the road.
I think that's interesting because when we think about this Georgia team over the course of, I don't know, for me at least, like the college football playoff era, this has been a team that does the exact opposite, right? They force teams that aren't necessarily prone to turnovers to turn the ball over more than they're used to. And now that's kind of flipped on its head. Bill, why do you think that is? And do you think that there's any way they can solve that before next season? Because it seems like it's going to kind of stick with them the rest of the year.
Well, they'll find, they'll still have enough talent to be national championship caliber good as long as Kirby Smart's there. It's just the equation has changed a little bit. They do need improved play from quarterback. I think it boils down to something simple, that they aren't able to kind of run for 200 yards like they typically are able to do. And that's the way he wants to play. He wants to kind of bully ball and let the defense do the rest. Their secondary isn't as good as it normally is. And that's shown. I mean, they're just getting killed on slant routes over and over again against Ole Miss. So I just don't know that this is the Terminator national championship machine that we're used to seeing right now. And I don't know that there is one in college football, if we're being honest. I don't know that any of these teams in the top 10 are that good.
I want to talk about a couple other games from yesterday, a potential fly in the ointment for the college football playoff that's still out there as well. Bill Bender hanging out with us from the Sporting News. We're talking college football on SportsWrap. All right, coming up in 10 minutes, something to consider. Broadcasters behaving badly. On this Monday edition of SportsWrap. Bill Bender's not behaving badly. At least not that we know of. We never know. Is there something you want to confess on the show, by the way?
I behaved. I was at a lacrosse tournament for my son over the weekend. Normally, the dads take that one pretty late, and I went to bed early because I knew I had a long Saturday coming. So early by that I mean around midnight. So I did behave over the weekend.
All right, just checking.
That's early.
That is early. I would agree. Sam, you wanted to get into Florida, so I'll let you lead it off.
I mean, Bill, we got to talk about this Billy Napier, Scott Strickland thing going on because what was it, like last Wednesday, Thursday, something like that? Scott Strickland, the athletic director down in Florida, puts out this statement: "Hey, we're confident in Billy Napier. Billy's gonna stick around another year." And then they go out and lay an absolute egg against Texas. They were down, 35-0 at one point, 42-0. And right after Texas scores the touchdown to go up 35-0, ESPN throws the little graphic up on the screen of Scott Strickland's statement on Billy Napier while Billy Napier's team is losing by 5 touchdowns. But I ask you all that, or I say all that, Bill, to ask you, what is going on in the state of Florida with regards to college football? I mean, it's like this whole state can't figure out a thing. Is UF ever going to turn this whole thing around? Because Billy Napier does not seem like the answer.
Well, but I'm going to go the other way here, because what is the answer now? Is it fire your coach, pay a buyout, press reset again, or see how he does with DJ Lagway, use that NIL money for something else like players? And I've heard that from a couple sources, that some of these coaches that we think are going to get fired may stick around longer than we think, because that's where the money goes now. It's not going toward the facilities, which they don't, quite frankly. How many ice cream machines do you need? You know what I mean? You need players to win in college. And in order to get the players now, you need the collective money to go there instead of firing a coach. So I think that's part of the reason why Billy Napier's going to hang on a little longer. But to your point, next year, when they don't have the schedule be different than it is this year, which is completely brutal, they are going to be right to and demand and expect results that are different than what we're getting in Gainesville right now.
Thoughts on Alabama and what they were able to do with LSU?
When they play like they do like that, here it's why I have a headache all season, because it's trying to figure out these so-called national championship caliber teams. When Jalen Milroe plays like that and goes into that mode like they did in the first half, they can win it all. And when their defense is playing connected, they can win it all. But they haven't been able to do that in every game. If you'd have told me before that game started that at 14:50 left in the fourth quarter, it's going to be raining, the stadium's going to be half empty, and Alabama's going to be up 5 touchdowns, I would have said, what are you talking about? And the reason why is Jalen Milroe took it to that level on Saturday night.
He scored a rushing touchdown in every single quarter. He rushed for a touchdown in every single quarter. It's ridiculous. That LSU team cannot stop the run. Sorry, I had to slip that
No,
in,
it's
Jason.
okay. It's okay. I got to get to Colorado because, look, we got to throw them their flowers. They went and did what they had to do on the road at Texas Tech, and they are playing themselves into a position to make this playoff, Bill.
Yeah, all they have to do is get to they have to win the Big 12.
Yes.
And their path is open to get to the Big 12 championship game. A Colorado versus BYU game. You talk about a counterculture clash in a football field. That will be amazing to watch, because there's a little bit of history between those schools as well, which I find ironic in some ways, because among the current constituents of the Big 12, the last team to win a national title was Colorado. The team before that was BYU. So wouldn't that be fitting in some ways if they played for the Big 12 championship? BYU, however, caught a break of all breaks from the refs on Saturday night in the Holy War. I did stay up and watch that whole thing. I can't believe they flagged that. I kind of agree with the Utah athletic director, who's in a little bit of trouble for his comments, but I would have been that mad as well.
So I'm so glad you mentioned that, Bill, because we needed to mention that Holy War and the way that all finished out. I wanted to build off the Colorado thing for a second. Bill, Travis Hunter, is he a lock for the Heisman? He's currently your betting favorite, and it looks like it's a 3-man race between him, Genty, and Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah, and Cam Ward's still not dead. You know, if he leads an ACC championship run, Miami, I think he's the best quarterback in the country. Yeah, I know he commits some turnovers, but if he pulls Miami into the playoff, he'll have a chance. Dylan Gabriel's kind of the easy choice, undefeated team, doesn't mess up. You know, playing pretty well too, but I really think it's going to be either Hunter or Genty at this point. And Genty, I wouldn't discount him in this race. I watch him every week. He's facing loaded fronts. They sell out to stop him every week, and he produces every single week. They play San Jose State this week. That's a game I'll keep an eye on. But Hunter's got the lead right now. But I still think as we behave as Heisman voters, if Colorado loses, wouldn't we treat him the same way we did Ward, who I saw people kind of ending his Heisman campaign before the ball hit the turf against Georgia Tech?
Bill, real quick, I got about a minute here, so I only really got about 35 seconds. Army is undefeated. We're 2 weeks away, basically, from a playoff game between them and Notre Dame, are we not?
That's going to be a huge game for both teams, and I can't wait to see it. Notre Dame's playing as good at football as anybody. If you could strike the Northern Illinois game from the record, I know we can't, but we would consider them the best team in the country if you really look at their metrics and how that defense is playing. So keep an eye on the Irish is what my way of saying. You get them in that playoff with that defense, the way it's playing, they're going to have a chance to make some noise.
Give Army a chance against them?
Yeah, but the bad thing is Notre Dame's already seen an academy team this year. So they've already practiced against that scheme. So they're going to have to be perfect with Bryson Daly.
Great stuff. Bill Bender does a great job on college football hanging out with us on the show. We'll see how the standings play out on Tuesday. I'll be texting you. Don't worry. I'll be texting you. We're coming back. We got a lot more to do on the show. Something to consider is next. All right, 10 minutes from now, Odds and Ends wraps up the show. Little NASCAR, little Major League Baseball, and a Monday Night Football game to discuss. But first, Sam Yarnell, something to consider. Bad words in open mics. Sam, let me. I don't often treat you as somebody that is somebody that's half my age. But this is one moment where I think this is a teaching segment for you, okay? Because you're still relatively new to the business. I think this is a teachable moment. We've got 2 teachable moments, in fact, coming up for you in this segment of something to consider. One that I will kind of defend, and the other which I cannot defend. And both are with people that I am friendly with, and in one case, more friendly than the other. First, John Wertheim of Tennis Channel, who does a great job on tennis. He did not do a great job in his hot mic moment talking about one of the stars of the WTA Tour. Take a listen.
What do you think I am? Barbora Krejcikova? Look at the forehead when Krejcikova and Zhang take the court. 8 head.
Oh boy.
What do you think I am? Barbora?
Not good.
Weird.
Yeah, I mean, here, I guess I'm going to come a little bit to his defense on this. And here's how I'm going to do it. First of all, you cannot say, first of all, treat every microphone as if it's going out over the air because somebody is recording somewhere. Okay? In these moments, you have to take it as somebody somewhere is recording this segment. Guys have got to stop thinking, and women could be subject to this as well, that somebody somewhere is recording this. So you have to act as if you're on the air even when you're not on the air. That being said, there have been more than a few times in our careers where we are saying things off the air. And I know because I've been doing this for 30 years, where we're saying things off the air about somebody we don't like, making fun of something, making light of something, that if people heard it, we'd all lose our jobs. I mean, there's just no doubt about it because all of us are human. All of us are fallible. All of us make fun of things or make light of things, rightly or wrongly. In this case, though, this was not a good look for John Wertheim.
Yeah. Tough.
Dynamite drop in, Monty.
Man, listen, man, if you're doing a tennis tournament the weekend of November 9th and the main thing is Barbora Krejcikova, just
nice job
do the
there.
tennis tournament.
Yeah, nice
you don't need to you don't need to
just why? Yeah,
editorialize.
Why? Yeah.
Editorialize. That's the word I was looking for.
Yes.
There's no need to editorialize, dude. Just come on. It's weird.
Yeah.
Weird. It's just weird.
And it just goes to show you what people are saying when the microphones are off. Because there's no way it's the first time John Wertheim ever said this.
Yeah, but also just like, again, I truly cannot express this enough. It's just a weird thing to say.
Yeah.
Like, hot mic or not, it is a weird thing to say about a tennis player whose match you are at to cover.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care if you were writing a written article, a print article, and talking to another print writer about it. It's just a weird comment to make.
All right. Example number 2. This one, a slip of the tongue. Michelle Beadle, you're up.
Michael Porter Jr. recently said, "Oh, I don't like this. That if the Nuggets don't win this,
that was a good one.
Don't try to get me on that. They might have to break up the team." Lou, are you buying that this is the last dance for the Denver Nuggets?
Yeah, I'm buying.
Nuggets.
I'm buying it. Beater, you're going to be in trouble today.
That's not fair. It's not even a thing. It's not even a word.
Sounded like it.
You would love that.
Listen, anyways, I'm buying it. All good things come to an end.
I don't like hearing it, though.
And it feels
we didn't like
hearing that either.
We sure I'm sweating.
It's all right, Beetle. You covered in the cloth. I got you. Ain't nobody going to say nothing.
She's good.
No, I'm sweating.
But listen, all good things come to an end. And it's just like
Michael Porter Jr. recently said, "Oh, I don't like this. That
There was a time where all the good things, including her career, would come to an end. She's had so many endings, though. ESPN twice, NBC. I love Beadle. And I have to inject this. I know her. I know her fairly well. We've had a lot of conversations off air. We almost worked on some projects together. I know her very well. There is not a racist bone in this woman's body. Now, that word is existing somewhere in her subconscious for a reason. But I know Michelle Beadle well. So I'm giving her kind of a pass here.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I don't know the woman well. Jason and
she
I
could be hearing that word a lot. She could hear that word a lot as well.
100%.
Yes.
Well, let me paint it to you like this, Jason. And again, I don't know the woman, but I've told Jason this off the air. When I was a kid, Michelle Beadle was a huge star. I used to love coming home and watching Sports Nation, a show that she co-hosted with a black man. Now, that's, I don't want to make the same excuses like, oh, I'm not racist. I have
black
friends of color. But at the end of the day, Michelle Beadle is somebody who's been around multiple sports that are dominated by non-white people for a long period of her life. I think it was just a slip up. I think we're all good here.
Sam, we've learned lessons today. Thank you, John Wertheim. Thank you, Michelle Beadle. Odds and Ends is right around the corner. No slip ups here. At least not today. Coming back. All right. Just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Monday. Tomorrow, NFL weekend leftovers. Otherwise, Sam's going to throw his computer through a wall. Because he's got a lot of problems with you people.
A lot of problems in the NFL this week.
Look at him. He's so angry. He's such an angry. Billy Joel had a great song. It was called "The Angry Young Man." You are the angry young man. So we'll get to that tomorrow on the show, I promise. But right now, it's time for some odds and ends. Odds and Ends. Joey Logano ends NASCAR season as its champion of the playoffs. His third NASCAR title, playoff title. He's just the 10th driver to pull off that feat of being a NASCAR playoff champion. So congratulations to Joey Logano. Big time effort yesterday. Holds off teammate Ryan Blaney in getting a win, exciting win out there in Phoenix. Our guy Tino Patino was there. He'll be on the show tomorrow to give us a recap of what he saw there. But Joey Logano, Middletown, Connecticut's own Joey Logano, might I say.
Interesting. I didn't know there was a NASCAR driver from north of the Mason-Dixon line.
Yep, he is. He's a Connecticut guy. I interviewed him in his first year in NASCAR, as a matter of fact, when he was like not even old enough to drink. And he was just this young kid. And now look at him. Amazing. What a career he has built for himself. Going from, great to legendary status with his third NASCAR title. So congratulations to Joey Logano. Clayton McCullough, I'd like to say congratulations, but you're taking the Marlins job. So I don't know if congratulations or condolences are in order for the Dodgers, first base coach, I think he was. Now the Marlins manager. For how long is the question? 1 year? Let's put I'll set it at a year and a half. Sam, we going under or over?
Probably over, but that's just because the Marlins are heading into this very dark space in the baseball world where they're going to be bad for a few years at least.
Yeah. And then they'll win a World Series out of nowhere, and then they'll be bad again for another decade. Right?
Yeah. Right. I don't know. So it's interesting because like the trajectory of that franchise is just so up and down. It's
not that interesting. They suck.
The interesting thing to me is the Dodgers. The Marlins have been around since what, 1993?
Yeah.
I want to say. So that's this year, 30 years.
Yeah.
This is their 17th manager in franchise history.
We might get a phone call one of these days. We just might get a phone call one of these days. They're running out of people.
They might be.
Odds and ends, Sam Yarnell, Page versus the Prince, for those who didn't catch it at the top of the show. I was 19-17 coming into this week. Those were our picks. I went 2-2. Sam went 3-1. I am 21-19 for the year. Sam now at 24-16, 60% winning percentage for Sam Yarnell through the first 10 weeks of the NFL season. And that's just talking about the Sunday games that we pick. We haven't kept tabs on our record for primetime games, but we've been damn good giving you guys picks when it comes to the Sunday night games, or I should say the primetime games. Speaking of primetime games, we have one tonight, Sam. Rams and Dolphins. How you feeling about it?
Yeah, this game is like
some ick factor.
Yeah, very, very icky game tonight on that 4-letter network. I have no idea how to bet this one because, Jason, as you'll remember, and I'm sure multiple of our viewers will remember because they probably bet it too, week 4, you and I came on this show and started talking about the NFC West and how bad the San Francisco 49ers were and how they didn't have Christian McCaffrey. And I said, hey, here's a smart play. Let's take the Rams at 20-1 and the Cardinals at plus 750, and we'll just bet on them both to win the division. Well, look where we're at, folks. If the Rams win this game tonight, we're holding a plus 750 and a 20-1 on the 1-2 in the NFC West heading into week 11. I'll take that 6 ways to Sunday every week of the year.
Will you take the cash out on it, or will you just ride it till the end?
Oh no, we'll just ride it out until the end.
Just asking.
So because of that, personally, I'm in a place where I don't really want to play this game. I definitely lean Rams laying the 2.5. But again, this feels like a game that could get so weird so easily.
I got to be honest, the way the Dolphins have played this season, I'm taking the Rams minus 2.5. I'm going Rams minus 2.5 in this game. I don't have a lot of faith. I don't think there's a lot of faith in the streets on the Miami Dolphins. I'm going with the Rams minus 2.5. I'm not crazy about the total one way or the other, but I do like the Rams minus 2.5. I'm sure you'll have some fun prop bets. By the way, check out the SportsWrap Substack. Subscribe today. It's free. We will have picks on there prior to the Monday Night Football game. So again, go and subscribe to the Substack. It's going to wrap it up. Yeah, go ahead real quick.
We went up a few units this weekend. The
All right.
Substack is worth your subscription.
Jason Cole, thanks to him. Bill Bender as well. We're back with you on Tuesday for more Sports Wrap, more NFL. Lots to talk about then. We'll see you.